All right, peace, Black Hour family. I want to welcome everybody to another NCRBG production. Tonight, we got a heavyweight in the building. We got a good show planned for everybody. First off, we want NCRBG would like to thank everybody for some time to come on the show today and just to hear what we got to say. So, of course, who I am, I'm Stuart Fields, no part owner, NCRBG. And I want to welcome everybody. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna open up the floor so everybody can introduce themselves. So starting with Ashley, and then you work your way over.
Peace.
Go ahead.
Hello,
Eric.
everyone.
Ashley. I'm sorry.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley, and I am Jason's wife. I'm with NCRBGs. I'm glad to be on the show again tonight.
All right. Thank you for being here. Next, Eric.
You said Eric.
Eric,
You
need to mute your mic.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm
hello.
co-owner of NCRBGs. I want to welcome everybody to the show. Like I said, that's my wife. We just got off the show. Her name is Ashley, and I want to welcome everybody to the show.
All right, go ahead, Eric. If your stuff legit, go ahead.
Peace. My name is Eric, and I'm a part of the NCRBGs, helping out. Love to everybody that's on the airway here.
Peace.
All right, that's great. Peace. DL.
How everybody doing? I'm Corey, aka DL, local artist from Carolina. I'm here to show love and support and ready to hear some good insight.
All right, we appreciate that. Julie.
Evening all. The name's Julie. I'm listening in from the UK, from a small town near Birmingham.
All right, thank you for being here. Al Tariq with the starting point.
Hey, peace, family. This is Al Tariq, Mr. Vacation Hayes. I'm the founder of The Starting Point, and we're teaching financial literacy and giving back, empowering our community. I appreciate you guys welcoming me on the show. And
all right, thank you. All right, well, everybody has introduced themselves, so it's my privilege and my honor to introduce to the family today Jaha Issa. He was born and raised in St. Louis County, Ferguson, outside of seminary, Emory University. He received his bachelor's, master's, and PhD from CU's, Texas Southern University, and Howard University. He is a senior editor with the Journal of Pan-African Studies and a vocal advocate against mass incarcerations. He has taught history at Elizabeth City State University and Delaware State University. He's also a Khan priest. He's been to Egypt multiple times, been in the pyramids. Y'all, I look, this is my pleasure, my honor to welcome Mr. Issa to the show. Floor is yours.
All right, well, very good. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we thank you for being here, sir.
Right. Yeah, I just want to say is Jahi Issa, Dr. Issa, and the PhD means it's an acronym for Doctorate of Philosophy. The Doctorate of Philosophy is the highest degree that anybody in the world can ascertain. And less than 1% of the human population has one. And when we talk about Black people, it's like 1% of 1%, right? But and a lot of people like to say that white man's thing. It's not. Education is a process of all humanity, and humanity started in Africa, right? And even if we're talking about indigenous African systems, I've made over 30 trips. I've born 2 children in Ghana, West Africa, from 2 different kingdoms in Ghana, West Africa, right? I've been to Kemet, yes, but we don't understand Kemet. And I often say this to the so-called conscious community because they want to skip all over West and Central Africa and deal solely with Kemet without understanding that by doing that, you're removing yourself out of the process, right? And these are the things that I'm going to discuss, because when we talk about the ancient Egyptians or the ancient Kemetans or the ancient Nubians, we're talking about Black people in the diaspora, because we are the same people. And these are the things that I will talk about at the lecture. These are things and secrets that nobody has ever talked about. And my research and my lectures and my writings are not just based off of an intellectual pursuit. They're based off of what we call ethnography. Ethnography is the study of human history, culture, and behavior. But to be an ethnographer, you have to be present. So yes, I've lived in Kemet. I've lived in West Africa. When I talk about the ancient Egyptians are alive, I'm talking to them now, right? And I will show you how when I get there. Our problem is that we have historical amnesia. We don't know our history, right? And that's been done to us deliberately over our 500-year sojourn, no matter where we are, via the transatlantic slave trade. The main goal when you subjugate any group of people around the world and you want to keep them constantly subjugated, especially when they have a unique history that's unique history to humanity, is our history. It's very unique and it's original. Not just the fact that we gave birth to humanity, but we gave birth to civilization, as we all know that. So I'm not going to speak to the choir on that, but the missing link in what we're doing and what I've tried to provide in the conscious community, they've been against it because a lot of our people are intellectually lazy. 1. 2, we think just because we've read 1 or 2 books and we can do a Google search, that's research. We don't even understand the methodology of what research is. Missing a lot of valuable points, right? And so when we think about people, the people that we put into high esteem, Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, although they did not have any terminal degrees, Dr. Clark didn't even graduate from high school, but he was able to retire a full professor. College. How did he get that way? What happened in the process that allows a man who didn't even have a high school diploma, didn't have a bachelor's nor a master's, got an online, a corresponding degree years right before he died? How does someone like that rise to prominence and people are still talking about him although he's been dead for almost 20 years, right? And so these are the things that, as the conscious community, we got to know. So right now, the conscious community is very dangerous because everybody is an expert, but everybody doesn't know anything. You know, and I can say that with authority and with arrogance and with the authority, not because solely I have a bachelor's and a master's and a PhD, because I just told you that Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark did not have either. but they had the methodology. Is to be an expert in our history and culture, or anybody's history or culture, you must have the methodology down. And the only way you're going to get the methodology is that you go through a training. Have to get licensed, right? But why do people don't go do a Google on how to be a carpenter and say, I'm a carpenter, without going through the apprenticeship? So it's the same way with anything. You don't wake up and say, I'm a medical doctor because I've Googled it and I've studied 3 books and I've read a few things. No, it's the same thing with history and culture. You don't wake up and say, I'm a psychologist because I read a few books and articles. There is a training. A squirrel trains its newborn and how to avoid the snake and the hawk. That's our training. It's not innate. What is innate is that we wake up and we breathe. Our heart breathes, our heart pumps regardless of our activity. Right? That's innate. We have organs, skin organs, all type of organs. Right? That just happens because of the divine forces of the universe created it like that. But I have to put this disclaimer in there because you have all of these pseudos and nobody wants to get formal training, and you hear all type of foolishness. It's very big within the conscious community. I've said this on Sonetta, I said this on a lot. Cats don't want to deal with me because this is how they're making their living, pretending like they're experts, and they're talking garbage. I'm listening, I'm like, what in the hell is he or she talking about? Where did they get that from? What the hell? I listen to them, and I really haven't been on a lot lately because it's too much foolishness going on. And a lot of experts who have no expertise and have no training. One thing I know for sure, my brother is a carpenter, and carpenters are well needed. And my little brother, apprenticed for 20 years as a carpenter under his father-in-law. Carpenter. I can't go, my hand is not steady enough to lay bricks. I wish I could, I'll save a lot of money. I wish I knew how to get under my car and fix the engine. And I wouldn't trust it to anybody who hasn't had the training. Engine up. Right? I know a little on changing the oil, but I don't know how to do it with these new cars because they're all computerized. You got to get training. The same thing is with history. Not everybody is a historian. I'm a historian. I'm like, what makes you a historian? What have you published? And vet. Then I had one cat on social media say, I published, it's on YouTube. I'm like, publishing a video? My 8-year-old can do a video, but she don't know nothing about no history. She's not an expert. She can do 1,000 videos. That ain't publishing that makes you an expert. I have to say that as a disclaimer, right? So everybody is a historian until a real historian steps on the scene. And then people say, oh, well, he knows a little more than, yeah, because I've been trained in it. I've been trained. Right? I've taught for 15 years on the collegiate level. We had universities in Africa before the white man came along, before we met the white man in Kemet and in Ghana, Malai, and Songhai. We had those. We had the University of Timbuktu, University of Sankore. We had that. We had so many universities in Timbuktu, it was ridiculous. Right? And people had to be trained to be a scholar. Ahmed Baba, one of the leading scholars during the whole period of Timbuktu, out of the University of Sankore, he wrote over 42 books. He had a personal library of 1,500 books. We're talking about the 13th century. And they were all handwritten. Right? Those were experts. And they all studied under people. Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark were the part of the Harlem Historical Club. They were underground universities. They got trained in methodology and writing. You got cats claiming they are historians and can't even write a sentence without misspelling the T-H-E. I'm like, who are y'all fooling? And we look horrible to the world because of our ignorance and our desire and our need to be something because we're subjugated in this society. I understand, right? But you have to get the proper training. If you can't go to a university, that's why they have universities. Don't give them the evil critique. And this is not to the RBG community. I'm just saying this as a disclaimer. And what I'm seeing and where we are going wrong in this entire process. So I am Dr. Jahi Issa, not because I made up the title Dr. Jahi Issa, because I went through the meticulous process of getting a doctoral degree in which I graduated from Howard University with a PhD, a doctorate of philosophy from Howard University, with my area of concentration being history, and within history, I have an expertise. I don't have an expertise on every aspect of history. I don't know all history. Just like if you go to a doctor, they specialize. They don't know all medicine. It's impossible. I'm going to the eye doctor, but I want the eye doctor to do heart surgery on me. You're going to die. Right? So even in history, we have expertise. What is my expertise? My PhD is in United States history and the African diaspora. Within United States history, my expertise is Black nationalism. 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th century Black nationalism, right? African American history. And I've taught African American history from 2003 to 2012 on the collegiate level. My other expertise, based on my certification with my PhD, is the African diaspora. What I do is look at how Africans in the diaspora, those of us particularly who were transported via enslavement, whether we were taken by the Arabs and taken from East Africa to Arabia and those places, the Middle East, or whether we were taken by the Europeans, all New World. Those are my experts. Then I have an expertise within that. I look at African kingdoms, particularly those kingdoms right before the Europeans got involved with the European slave trade that brought our people to the West. Right? And I've co-written a book with a brother who's a Nubiologist / Egyptologist, but we say Nubiology because there was no Kemet before Nubia. A child of the Sahel. Like a lot of you, I got my training. I have two forms of training. My two forms of training, I will start with my first form of training. My first form of training came just like you, and I call that a classical training, because that training that Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and those that came before them has been around in this country since the mid-19th century that we can document it as an official underground university. But we can go back to the 18th century if I had to, and I can give that argument too. Right? And I say classical because Alexander Cromwell, I'm dropping names, Alexander Cromwell and those people, they set up underground universities. But I even tell people the study of Kemet, we can trace our history in this country as far as it goes as the classical training in Kemet The black church was doing that from the 1790s. We have documents showing this through the AME and the AME Zion Church and the mother African churches. They were talking about us and our relationship to Kemet and to the Bible, and that the Bible is an African document. The Bible was found outside of Africa. Every last book was found in Africa. And these are things I will go over. But David Walker in his classic Appeal, The Appeal to Colored People of America. This is the cat who influenced Nat Turner. He wrote a book called The Appeal. In that appeal, he wrote that in 1828. He talks about us being the original Egyptian. We can take this, our study from Kemet as African Americans born in the United States of America, we can trace it back historiographically back to David Walker. He didn't just get it out of the sky. He had to come under a school of thought that taught him. That's training. You can Google David Walker's Appeal. It's online. And read it, right? He talks about Kemet. Nat Turner knew this. He talked about it. Confessions. Right? So I want to say this. I'm not saying that people can't study and this, but what I'm saying to the conscious community is that a lot of people are poisoning themselves as experts, and they haven't been trained, and they're not experts, and 99% of the stuff they're saying is off stuff, and they can't relate it back to where it got from. So I came on, saw Netta. Last time I was on there, I went to a studio. I'm new. I'm thinking, oh, Zion Lex, this guy is a scholar. He has a book. In my mind, because I'm a trained scholar, so I know it ain't got nothing to do with having a PhD. You got a book. If you say you got a book and you're challenging a tradition, and I've been formally trained in it, and you're saying things that I know that aren't right. That's why I kept saying to him, what is your chronology? What is your chronology? What are you talking about? That's the first thing I'm going to ask. As a trained, highly published scholar, intellectual, I'm an editor for the only journal of Pan-African studies in the world. I've been with them for 15 years. I'm an editor there. Other people's scholarship, real scholarship that is written, that they spell out with the pen or the pencil. S-P-E-L-L. To spell is just that. It's a spell. Magic. And it comes from us. It's magic. That's why it's so hard to do. Do that. It's hard writing. It's magic. And you got to be trained in it. You don't wake up from your mother's womb and turn 2 and start writing books. No, it's a training. Don't get trained how to write, right? And even those who are self-trained, right? 90% of the people who are self-trained, their level of scholarship is not the same as somebody who was trained. This is why I say Dr. Clark was fully trained. That's a whole nother lecture at a whole nother time. I say that, so when I was on with Zion Lex, I didn't know the dude was half crazy. I just said, okay, if you're saying all of this stuff, I'm not going to debate you because you're not on my level to debate. You got to prove you on my level if I'm going to debate you. But I can tell from your first 5 sentences, I'm like, oh, this dude don't know what he's talking about. What is your chronology? You answer my question. I'm like, why would I answer your question when I'm saying I'm the expert? No, you're not going to get me like that. I said, well, let me review your book. Here's my book. You can have it. So when I went to review the book, I read the first 5 sentences. I said, the whole damn book is plagiarized. And I'm asking myself now, I'm new to the conscious community. And I'm saying this for an example. This is what I'm saying. You got people going around lecturing and don't know shit. Excuse my language. Don't know what the hell they talking about. But everybody is an expert. Just because my stepfather used to he used to do what you call that to the wood. He used to polish wood. You know, that's how he took care of us. And as a little child, you know, he would train us. My mother was a seamstress, and my mother taught us from children how to sew, right? But my mother did this for 30 years. Just because I did it with her for 7 months, I couldn't make no damn dress. That's a training. And my mother was bad. She used to make wedding dresses. She was trained how to do that. It was passed down to her from her grandmother, right? And then from all the way from Africa, right? So this is what I'm saying. So Zion Lex and all of these cats on Sonetta and all these experts, his book had been out for 1 year. For 1 year. And none of these experts knew that the book was plagiarized. How smart. I'm like, y'all didn't even know the damn book was plagiarized? Because I taught for 15 years, I can pick up, because I see students turning in plagiarized work. I can read from the first 5 or 6 sentences and tell if a work is plagiarized. The whole book of Zion Lex. And I said, you know what, Sonetta, I'm not coming on your show to talk about this, because my colleagues who are in academia will come up down on me, because they will say, why are you even dealing in this? You know, these cats don't know what they're doing. You know, it's all about money. They can care less about the people. So I left it alone. He got mad. He wanted me to write some stuff. I'm like, I'm not wasting my time on frauds. It took me 9 years to get my PhD. I ain't wasting my time on that. I don't have that type of time. I thought this cat was a scholar. But none of y'all could tell. The book had been out for 1 year. And none of y'all can pick up the book and tell that it was plagiarized. That's when I said, y'all can have it. I don't want any parts with it. I don't want no parts with it. Y'all deal with it. Reggie, you deal with it. Garfield, you deal with it. I'm done. Because none of y'all could even tell. All of y'all experts, but y'all couldn't tell. All right? And so, but I'm not saying this as a bad thing. I'm saying that we have to get trained. Right? And that's something I'm going to talk about, because I'm setting up an online school where people can come and get a methodological training. Of course, they'll have to pay, but you'll have to get a basic training, an intro to classical studies, African studies, an introduction to Black studies, an introduction to African American history 1 and 2 classes. All right, because you got to be trained in proper methodology. And even that don't make you an expert. But at least you can start looking at history properly, in the concepts in history. The same way that you understand the concepts and electrical currents. I don't know nothing about electrical currents. I wasn't trained in that. Hire somebody to do that. I don't know how to wire a house. I wasn't trained in that. I would blow the house up. Right? I'm not a chemist. Right? So I'm very careful at what I say that I'm an expert in. My expertise is Black nationalism. My doctoral dissertation, my articles and upcoming book is on the Garvey movement in Louisiana. My expertise is Garvey movement in the South. Expertise. But I can teach any field of African American history because I've been trained in the methodology. and I've taught it for 15 years on the college level. All right, so I wanted to say that starting off because I think that's very important. And this is not saying you're just not an expert because you read Chancellor Williams' Destruction. That doesn't make you an expert. You read 7-10 books. I be telling cats, look, in a good graduate program at Howard, at a black college, we were reading 10 books for one class a week and had to write papers on one class, 15 pages a week, critiquing what we wrote. Level, and you get it back, it's all red ink from the professor because of your grammatical structures ain't right. You ain't citing properly. One class. Just one. I ain't talking about the 50 classes I had to take just on the PhD level, not even talking about master's and bachelor's degree. I want to say that first. So I've been to Africa 30 times. I tell cats who study Kemet, I have a book on Kemet. It's the origin of the word amen. We're out of print, but if enough people want to pre-order the book, I'll pre-order some more. The origin of the word amen, I wrote with an expert on Nubia and Kemet is Dr. Salim Farajee. That's his expertise. He's a historian on that. He's published in that, He's published in it, and he's an expert in it. So that book, although we're looking at history, me and Dr. Farajee, although we're looking at history, we studied in Kemet. I took Dr. Farajee with me. I went to Kemet in 1994 when I was a senior. That's my attorney. Got some big issues going on. But let me text him and tell him 5 minutes. Hold on. I got to take this. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
This is real important. I got to take, hold on.
All right, well, while he taking that call, so far, anybody got anything to say? What y'all think so far? Comments? I got a question I'm gonna ask, but anybody? Comments, anything? Look like he mad at a couple people.
Oh, hold up. We see comments.
I mean, I'm just saying what y'all think so far. What y'all think about everything, man?
Yeah, it's a lot of things we got to think about. I just want to get something understood. Dr. Clark and the brother Smalls, Dr. Smalls.
Dr. James Smalls, yeah.
Yeah, well, these brothers, I'm not sure if I get this right, but the brother said that they wasn't really actually classified as being historical people. That
no, I didn't say that. No. You're misinterpreting what I said, brother. And I may have to take this call one more time in a second, all right? This is my lawyer. I got a big movie deal that I'm working with Akon based on my expertise, all right? And people are trying to steal my intellectual property to not pay me properly for the movie, right? And it's a movie on our history and our culture, one of a kind, all right? So, but what I said is, first is Professor James Smalls, and Dr. Smalls does not have a PhD, all right? He has a bachelor's degree, but he did teach on the college level, and he did start one of the Black Studies programs at City College. And he is an esteemed scholar and intellectual. Yes, and he is a mentor of mine. And I know Professor Smiles very well. He's helping me out with this movie. He's helping me to fight these evil people who are trying to steal my idea. All right, but on that, with that said, what I'm saying as it regards Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, I'm saying they don't have what we would call the traditional degrees. All right, there's a whole nother lecture on that I have to do at another time. Understand that they had the training. All right, it's important that you understand that, because you yourself, all of you in there, if you're trained properly, you can write a book like Chancellor Williams, but you got to be trained. It has nothing to do with going to the university. We go to the universities to be trained. All right. When Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark were coming up, they would have never allowed them to do a PhD with the type of information they were dealing with at that time. Hansberry, Leo Hansberry, who started the first African Studies program in the country, who did his bachelor's degree and master's at Harvard. They would not allow him to do a PhD at Harvard. So what more Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and dozens of other people who created the Harlem Book Club? The Harlem Book Club was an underground university where they sat in and they learned, and they wrote papers, and they debated those papers, and they wrote more papers, and they did book reviews. They were autodidactic, but they were not autodidactic because they were trained. They were only autodidactic in the sense that they didn't go to a quote unquote university to do it. And we had Black universities, but no Black university had PhDs at that time. Universities were so conservative that they wouldn't even allow cats like that on the campus. They kicked me out of 2 Black universities that I was teaching at. What more them? Right?
And since you
that's a
mentioned
whole nother subject, huh?
Now, since you mentioned that, I was going to go into my question I have for you. A lot of times people think that just because people are professors or they lettered, that they are not in the struggle. So, I wanted to go into the fact of, what happened in Delaware when you was teaching at the college, and, maybe you can tell us the story of what happened. A quick little 5 minutes.
I'm standing up for Black people, man. I'm a Black man first, before anything. I got a Black mama, a Black father, and I got Black children. I was born in the United States, St. Louis County, Ferguson, Missouri area. That's where I was born, right? So I'm Black first. So my loyalty is to the people that I come from first, like any group of people. Your first loyalty is to your family, and then to your community, and then to the broader world. That's how I see the world. So because I saw a lot of wrong things going on, not only there, but I was rumbling at ECSU too. I was fighting them Negroes at ECSU too. I fought the president at 2 presidents at ECSU, to the point where they refused to give me a contract. And Brother Tony got 15 brothers in an 18-passenger van, came and knocked on my door at 8 o'clock at night. And I said, "Where are we going?" He said, "Just get in." And next thing I know, we at the president of ECSU's house. Knocked on the door, 15 Black men walked in his house, and Tony said, "Dr. Issa is with us. He's in the community. I understand y'all not giving him his contract." And the president was scared. They said, "Oh, that contract will be there in the morning." I one of the longest contracts in human history. I left, I went to Dallas State. But what I'm saying, I was fighting wherever I am, I'm fighting for our people, right? Because I'm trained to fight. I understand the so-called white world and the Black world and the intellectual world, right? I was trained in that. I didn't wake up like that. And for people who say just because you lettered, you don't stand up for your people, then they don't know our history. That's ignorance. There's a lot of ignorance. This is what I'm saying. So much profound. And they're really saying that to justify why they are intellectually lazy and refuse to believe in themselves to go get training. That's really what it's about most of the time. Most of the time, that's what it's about. And I'm not trying to step on anybody's feet. I'm just trying to show what's really going on. So the Delaware State, you know, they lynched several brothers. One of the brothers was my barber. They put flyers under my university office door saying they were going to lynch me. I was fighting the white professors and the Negro president. I took a stance with the students. They set me up. It was during the presidential election. They set me up. That was the vice president's hometown. They didn't want a black professor getting on CNN talking about lynchings right before the election. Who's going to control $22 trillion? I'm lucky they didn't kill my butt. You know, for real. I was possessed with courage at that time. An ultimate price where, you know, they won't allow me back into those university doors, which is cool. It's a world out there. I can go to Africa and teach. The United States ain't the only place, right? And I love being in Africa. My children were born there. Two of my baby mamas are from Africa. In villages, in kingdoms, ancient kingdoms. All right, and I'll talk about all of that at the lecture Tuesday. Yeah, so yeah, that's just a lot of foolishness that people with letter degrees ain't in the community. And nowhere in this world, brothers and sisters, has a revolution been caused by people who haven't been studied. Nowhere. The Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro was a lawyer, right? Malcolm X was the ultimate autodidact. He was a student of Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark. Malcolm X, we forget that. His mama and daddy were Garveyites. Ultimate self-learn, but he studied under master teachers. He got the training. That's what I'm saying. He was trained. First Elijah Muhammad. And then he left, and he got under Clark and Dr. Ben. In history, that's why he was so efficient. He had Elijah Muhammad, then he had Clark and Ben. Come on. How can you not be trained? Like Brother Reggie. That brother is bad. Bachelor's degree in Black Studies from City College, but because he was trained under Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, he spent 20 years under them. He was trained by Leonard Jeffries. They trained him. That's what I'm saying. You got to get a training. You got to be trained. That's all I'm saying. All right. And so I want to get back to what I was saying about the ancient history. You cannot understand Kemet in contemporary African culture. And I tell people this because I didn't understand it until I start going to Ghana. Book The Origin of the Word, Amen. I saw amen all over the damn place in Ghana. And I thought that it was Western Christianity and Judaism, not knowing that it had predated that. I had no idea until I start training under a Ghanaian scholar. And under Kwame Osei. Spent time with him running around Ghana. He's showing me, teaching me the linguists and everything in the temples, the ancient Kemetic temples, in which I was initiated in Ghana, still operating throughout West and Central Africa and in South Africa, ancient Kemet. So you don't and I keep trying to say this to the brothers who do Kemet. I'm like, you got to go there and sit. It's like you go to elementary school, you went to school, you were trained how to write. You went through a school. So the same way with Kemet, you got to go to Africa and study under a high priest if you really want to understand the Medu Neter. Because it's the same tradition and culture. It didn't die off. The ancient Egyptians are in North Carolina. They're in Mississippi. That's where they are. But because we don't know our history as to what happened, none of us on here can tell us unless your mother and father was born in West Africa, West or Central Africa, can tell you that first African on your mother's side and on your father's side who got off that ship, what kingdom did he or she come from? What was his family clan name? You can't tell me. We've forgotten that whole aspect of our history. Nobody talks about what groups were brought from West Africa and ended up in North Carolina. That they come from. That's big. That's very important in understanding who we are and what we are doing today. Because really we are the same people. Well, because we don't know that history is gone. We have to relearn it. And to relearn that history, you gotta be trained in it. You gotta be trained. Nobody picks up a medical book and say they're a medical doctor because they read the book. Right? You'll be fined by the state if you did that. That's why nobody does it, because they know they'll get in trouble. Practicing medicine without a license. We need to have practicing history without a license. That's what we need. That'll stop a whole lot of that foolishness, right? Because they're misleading people. You know. And so when we say RBG, right? RBG, red, black, and green. Oh, that we're talking about the kingdoms in which we come from. Those African kingdoms. Those African clans. Those royal families. There was Garveyism in America before Garvey. We say black nationalist. I'm a nationalist. The root word of nationalism is nation. Meaning you want your own nation. If you say you're a nationalist, that means you're not an American. You're American by default. When you say RBG, you're saying nationalism. That's saying you want your own nation. Because that's what the red, black, and green flag stood for. Black nation. We want our own nation. Form of human interaction is being able to govern oneself. So when you say RBG, then you're saying, okay, somehow I relate myself to the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who represented at that time the classical the golden age of black nationalism, meaning that they wanted their own nation, not in Mississippi or North Carolina, but in Africa where they got us from. And when we start talking about the Garvey movement in North Carolina, anybody that joined that movement at that time was saying that they wanted to go back home. Why wouldn't they? What, in 1920s? Yo, if you were born in 1901 and you ended up joining the Garvey movement in North Carolina, right? And you're 19 years old, that means that your mother was probably born in 1880. Mother was probably a slave. Or her father was probably a slave. Their mother, who were slaves, knew their ancestors who were born in Africa. And so if you have 3 generations of people in 1910 living under the same house, one of them may have been 80 years old, meaning they were born in 1840 something, meaning that their parent was probably from Africa, and they told them exactly what part of Africa they were coming from. And then Garvey said, hey, comes in 1920 saying, let's go home. Oh, you're going to be like, I'm down with that because I'm catching hell here. And that's where they took us from anyway. So when we say RBG, we're talking about nationalism. That's missing in the RGB. It's devoid. Even the conscious community. People are not talking. They're talking about black without talking about Africa. How is that possible? Where have we got, brother? You know, what's your name, brother?
To me, Stewart.
Huh?
You talking about me, Stewart?
Brother Stewart, if you come to Ghana or anywhere in that West or Central Africa with me, you would get lost. You would lose yourself. In the crowd, you would lose. You're like, where I go? Because you will be home with a million people that look just like you. And everything in your life will make sense. Your whole existence on this earth in America, once you get to people that look just like you, you'll be like, well, goddamn, these people really did something to us. It'll start making sense. But we don't even talk about Africa anymore. Africa is out. And since we don't talk about Africa, and since we don't relate our struggle back to Africa, that is the basis of all of our problems in America. Because we don't have a connection with that. We lost it. But it ain't all our fault. It is within the interest of the ruling European elite to make us devoid of our history in Africa. Reason. Because Dr. Clark always says you cannot continually oppress a historically conscious people. It's impossible. It's impossible. And that's why we have given them hell here in America. Always because of our relation. So when you say RBG, you just don't know, because people haven't, the RBG community has yet to be trained on that. This is what I'm hoping that I can start beginning to do, is to train the RBG community on Africa and why Africa matters. Africa matters. People say Black lives. No, Black lives only matter when Africa matters. I have a CD that I'll be selling at the thing called Black Lives Matters When Africa Matters. It's very powerful. It's a PowerPoint. And what part of Africa we come from, and what Europeans were saying, the pictures that they drew of Africa during the 15th, 16th, and 17th century, where they got our ancestors, is nothing like what you could ever even imagine. All right? So I want to say all of that. You know, I'll take a few questions. I went over longer than I'm supposed to, you know, but I'll take a few questions, then I got to get on out. I haven't confused people, and I hope you don't consider my passion for something that's irrelevant and purely arrogant. And I am arrogant to an extent. I'm dealing with other arrogant people either. Right? But I think my arrogance as well, I have qualified arrogance well for our people, right? Because if you're doing well, I do well. If Tony doing well as a businessman, I would not be who I am, because he's helped me over the years because of his business. I didn't go do business. I wasn't trained in that. He can train people on how to do proper business. He has successes and failures, and he can train people. He's been training me. He's still training me. I'm getting trained because I don't know. So I'm getting trained in that by somebody who knows. I didn't go to school and get a BA in business. I had to study under people who already have very successful businesses. Right? That's why the training is so important. It's so important. So I know we went over a lot of things in a lot of areas, you know, and I'll take a few questions before I get on out.
Okay, well, I thank you for all the insight you gave us. Do anybody got a question? Come on, it's the time. Speak now, forever hold your peace, people. Eric, Julie, DL.
Who was saying that I was disqualifying Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben. I hope I clarified that. I wasn't disqualifying them. Dr. Ben and I wanted to be like Dr. Clark. That's who I want to be like to this day. I studied him. I used to write down Dr. Clark's lectures, take every syllabi, and that's who I wanted to be. Fireman or a policeman. I wanted to be like Dr. Clark. right? So I love them. Those are revered ancestors. That's who I wanted to be, and that's how I carry my life. Present him. Dr. Faragee, that's my best friend. He wanted to be Dr. Ben. This is what we were 15 studying these cats. Oh, that's what we want to be like. Training, and we living their life. So I will never talk down on them. I'm a student of them. I'm a student of Professor Smiles. I was ready to beat up Zion Lex because of what he said to Professor Smiles. I was ready to whoop his ass. Excuse my language. I was pissed off. I played college football at Southern University. Oh man, I was gonna hurt that. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you beat up on an old man? And an old man like that who's carrying our history and our tradition. When I see Professor Smiles, I bow down to him. For real. When I'm with Dr. Jeffries, I don't talk. And he cusses me all the time. I don't say nothing. Because I may be cussing people out when I'm 70, 80 years old. I'm cussing a whole lot of people out. And he's been through enough in his life to cuss people out. Right? So I don't want to give the impression that I'm talking down. No, I revere them. I revere. That's the legacy. I come out of that tradition. It's an ancient tradition as it regards our existence in the United States. I'm not talking about going back to Kemet when I say ancient. We can take this all the way back to David Walker. Walker is from North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So any questions?
I'll make a comment. I did see the episode when you went on Zion Lex up there, and I did.
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
call him
you
Lion Lex, fraudulent Lex. You know, he fraudulized the whole book, and nobody knew this. Nobody saw it. You know, but because of my training, I had to show them this is what makes me Dr. Issa. I can pick up a document and tell you where it's coming from, who wrote it, because of my training. And then once I was able to show them that it was plagiarized, then they all said, okay, we'll address that.
Yeah, the Garfield show getting at him now. Hey, do anybody got any questions for Dr. Issa?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir, brother.
What's a good way to get with you to learn more about Marcus Garvey?
Brother, are you in North Carolina?
Yes, I'm the co-owner of NCRBGs.
Oh, okay, so I see you Sunday then.
Yes.
You know, I see you Sunday, if not Sunday, most definitely Tuesday. We'll talk about all of that.
Okay.
You know, we need people to do the research on the Garvey movement in North Carolina. Right? There was like 30, 40 branches all over the state. It probably was more than that, because the up until I did my research, and that the Garvey movement in Louisiana, it was the largest in the world. They were saying it was 76 branches. That's what Tony Martin said. But when I did the research, I found there were over 100 branches. 25%. So if somebody is saying there were 40 branches, North Carolina, add 25% to it. It was probably more like 60.
Yeah.
All right. And so, and that's a lot, you know, for that time period. These people were true nationalists. They were about it. They weren't saying red, black, and green, or BG. No, they were really about that business of going back home to Africa and setting up an African empire and modernizing Africa. They were about that. Serious. And people died over that. So yeah, we'll talk about that Tuesday, man. When we out rapping and talking, I'll be there early Tuesday. And we'll talk about that, man. I love to meet with y'all. I love just giving my knowledge to young people and showing people how to do proper research. Because Malcolm says, of all we study, history best prepares us. It best rewards our research. History best rewards our research. Right? So to do proper methodological research is so empowering. But you got to be trained what to do.
Anybody else?
But I will say this, you know, if you're really, really serious, start off with the Negro World. You can get the Negro World newspaper online. I don't know how much it is, but you'll need a microfilm to look at them. 18 to 1933. I went through every one. During my PhD studies, I had to read from 1918 to 1933, every volume. And they were coming out every week for about 10 years. I had to go through every volume for 18 years. It took me about 3 months to go through every volume and read every paper. 3 months straight, taking notes, looking for anything that said Louisiana. Right, so the Negro World newspaper is the first start. But if you really want to know, there's a white girl. She's a white scholar out of Georgia State University. She has a book called The Garvey Movement, Grassroots Garveyism. Her name is Mary Rollason. She's at Georgia State University, and it's a study on the Garvey movement in the South, except Louisiana. I think she's looking at Virginia, Arkansas, North Carolina. You can start there. And that book, you can get it all online. The Garvey, it's called Grassroots Garveyism. And then to supplement that, you want to look at Tony Martin's classical study called Race First. Logical origins of Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So when we say RBG, we're talking about the Garvey movement. Right, the UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. That was a nationalistic organization. They were about nationhood, real nationhood, not fake nationhood, real nationhood. All right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. You got to go beyond a Google search. You got to go to the library and get some books.
Okay. DL, you got anything? Julie, UK, you got anything? You want to ask? Al Tariq?
Sister UK, where you from, Queen?
I'm Jamaican.
Oh, you're from Jamaica. All right. So you were born in Jamaica or born in London?
Born here, lived in Jamaica for a while, came back here.
Okay, yeah. I've been to London many times. I lived in Brixton and Liverpool and all over. Been to London many times. You know what? My first time to London, it had to be like 95, 96. I'll never forget it. I got off the tube, right? You know the tube?
Yeah.
I got off the tube, went up the stairs in Brixton, and I saw two brothers selling a final call. Jackson, final call, my brother. I was like, oh my God, they're here. I didn't know the Nation of Islam was in London. That was the first thing I witnessed when I got into Brixton. Two brothers. Brixton is like the black area of England, y'all. Two brothers selling off the tube, man. It was fascinating. I wish I had a video camera back then. You have any questions, sis?
Not at the moment, no.
Yeah, so when we talk about Jamaica, you know, Jamaica, of course, that's where Garvey comes from. But, you know, the Jamaican elite hated him, and that's why he left and he moved the organization to the U.S. because he said the Jamaican elite would have never allowed him to do what he was doing. And he said black people had it going on more than the black masses in Jamaica. When we talk about Garvey and people from Jamaica, there's one particular group whose culture dominates Jamaica from Africa. That's the Akans. A lot of people from Jamaica were brought over by the British during the Ashanti Wars that the British waged on our, huh?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, but that's a whole nother conversation, another lecture at a whole different time.
Thank you.
It is Jamaica that gave us the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And so for that reason, Jamaica should always have a place in our heart. And everybody, every black man and woman who says that they are part of the RBG community need to make a pilgrimage to the grave site of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, which I plan on doing this year. I can't wait. Because I embody his spirit. I love that man.
I got another question. Been Africa over 30 times. Is that trip real extra? Is it affordable for somebody to actually save enough money to go?
Yeah, you got to save up, man. A trip to depending on when you're going, like I'm supposed to be taking a group in August, and we're looking at, I think it's going to be like $3,200, but, I mean, I know people who be spending $200 on sneaker shoes, man. $100 on a pair of jeans, So it just depends on where your priorities are. With me, once I was 17, I was introduced to Dr. Clark. Once I heard that, man, I was like, man, I want to be like him. He talks about his Africa. Let me go to Africa, And as soon as the first chance I had, I was in college. I went my senior year in college. Went to Kemet. Then the next year I went to Ghana and got stuck in Ghana. Kept going back and forth, studying and having children. So when I say affordability, it just depends on, you and your hustle, and your priorities. But I think every black person who can should go at least once to Africa. Because that's where we come from. That's where our ancestors are from. And Africa is still a mystical place, man. That's a whole nother thing. In fact, it'd be good for y'all to come Sunday because we're going to do something before the lecture Sunday. It's a very, very ancient ritual.
Oh, we gonna be there.
All right, very good.
My question is about that trip in August. How long is it? Is it for like 2 weeks? Or
it's like 7 to 10 days. 10 days.
Okay. All right. Are you going with other people? Because I know it's certain people that take trips every year.
Yeah, I'm going. I got a group that I'm taking, right? But I'm going with another group.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going with a group. I'm working with kings who want us to return, who are giving us land to return. That's what I do now. I don't go for the tourist stuff anymore. I'm going for straight up business. I'm trying to complete Garvey's work. Work. That's the real work. For those of us who want to return, there's land for us because that's where they took us from. And everybody knows that.
That goes good with divine intervention. That plays right along into the fact that we meeting you and you planning on trying to repatriate back over there.
I'm not trying. No, I'm going home, brother. That's eventually.
Okay.
I'm going to spend most of my time there, back and forth here, doing lectures, doing research. But I'm going to be spending most of in the next 2 years, most of my six to 7 months of the time is going to be over on the continent. We're moving over to Ghana and other places. It's a lot of us.
Okay. And anybody else? DL, Al Tariq? Because I know you said.
Yeah, brother. I'm just sitting back listening, taking it all in, and some great information.
I appreciate that, brother. Also, I want y'all to go and look at, I'm on the board of a new tech company, Black search engine / social media company. It's called Ebonomy. Ebonomy. These are former students of mine at Delaware State University. They created the first. You can Google it. There's been a lot of articles written on them in the Huffington Post. I'm now an investor and a board member. I'm an owner of this company. It's called Ebonomy. Like you spell economy, but take the C out and add a B. .com. Sign up. It's the first Black social engine, social media search engine in the world. It's ours. You can see, you can talk and be Black.
Yeah. Well, I know you said you had something to do. So if ain't nobody else got.
Yeah, I gotta get on out of here, brothers. It's a pleasure talking to y'all, and I hope I ain't scared nobody.
Well, no, you talking right down my alley when you talk about being African centered. That's where I try to keep my focus at. I'm just trying. I just like you
Yes,
said,
sir.
just need to be trained. That's
Yeah, man. I'm gonna give y'all some real good resources when I'm in North Carolina. Some real powerful stuff that's gonna transform your life. That I'm gonna show you stuff that I learned. Yeah, I am an initiated traditional African priest. I was trained in Africa, right? But it was in my bloodline, right? It was in my bloodline. Most of us have in our bloodline these powerful spiritual practices. We just have to learn how to reuse them and be retaught. But it's in us, right? And I'm going to be showing some stuff to people on how to do, what to do. Yeah, there's a lot of power there in North Carolina. We just don't know how to access it, all right? Ancestral power. I'll be showing you that when I get there. Stuff that's going to transform you, all right, and help you in your everyday living. And if you want to go to the continent, there's certain rituals that you do, right, that will help you be motivated and energized to go home to the continent, right, to get you the resources. Not hocus pocus stuff, but some real ancient Kemetic African stuff that I know that I've done and I've seen myself, not what I've read. All right? So, man, it's a pleasure being on here. I really appreciate it. And again, I really look forward to seeing y'all.
And I really thank you for coming. We appreciate you for blessing us with your presence and your wise words and your wisdom. And that slacking and smacking you gave his hind legs. He deserved that one.
Man. I didn't want to. The boy was so stupid, you know, and he thought he won. Oh, I beat up on a professor. And I was like, dude, you don't even know I tricked you to agreeing to allow me to review your book, not knowing that it was plagiarized. You ain't gonna hear nothing from that cat for a long time, man. He's embarrassed. And I didn't have to do it. I got other people, I gave them the reason. I said, look, go do this on Zion. That's what Garfield and other cats have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Good work on his foolishness. All right, brothers, sisters.
All right, we thank you. Peace. We thank you for being here.
Black power.
All right. Black power, Black power, African power.
All Black African power all day. We had I'm ready to sign off.
Nice turnout. I appreciate everybody. If y'all, anybody got any questions before we go? I appreciate everybody from tuning in. I know other things y'all could have been doing, but like you say, man, we proud to have Dr. Issa on our show, and we're gonna be seeing him this Sunday. Like I said, if anybody wants to go, or like I said, we're gonna get some footage. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get a little bit of it. Exactly, let us get. But we definitely gonna be doing some more work with Dr. Issa and getting some information around here.
And let me give a quick shout out to Tony Riddick, because I know he's watching. He let me know that he's one of the viewers. You know what I'm saying, Tony? We thank you, Tony. You know, you really put us in good positions, man. We really appreciate everything that you're doing, man. And you know how you changing and reforming our lives. I want to tell you that from the bottom of my heart. But with that being said, like Jason said, man, and we hope we see y'all in the building Sunday if you can't make it, even or at least Tuesday. Hey, Tariq, you got anything you want to say, man? Cause I know Starting Point doing big things. Anything you want to say? Anything you want to promote right fast before we sign off?
Definitely.
Hey, yeah, man. Nah, I don't have anything that I'm trying to promote. We got local events here in Fayetteville this Sunday coming up after church and whatnot. But I wanted to tell you guys, hey, I see the loyalty, you know what I'm saying, with the individuals who constantly get on here every Thursday night, Julie and Eric, and then others who are watching on YouTube. So I'm just I'm happy to be a part of this movement, this family. I see it's a loyalty, so I'll be here every Thursday night with you guys.
I appreciate it, man. I really do. It means a lot.
DL, Julie, DL, this your first time. How was your experience, man? What do you think?
No, he he sleep. DL sleep.
He went to sleep. It's all good. All right. Well, look, man, DL, we appreciate you coming, man. We really appreciate you coming, man. We appreciate you being up here. Julie, you want to say anything before we sign out? Hold up. I think DL, his mic done changed. You gonna say something, DL? All right. Julie, you want to say anything before we close out?
Niggas wait.
All right. Well, look, man, we thank y'all for all being here, man. Peace and black power, man. We look forward to seeing y'all. We look forward to seeing y'all again next Thursday, man.
See y'all, BG.
We're on the rise.